I'm here with you to show you how to mount. We're going to mount rice paper artworks onto a stiffer paper backing. So, the last couple of weeks, I have been teaching how to paint in an Asian style, and we've been using both rice paper and watercolor paper. And if you didn't know, each week I teach a live. So, every Sunday, I have a live art workshop, and the last several weeks, we've been working on using Asian brushes and the watercolor brush substitutes for Asian brushes, and working on both rice paper and watercolor paper. And what that means is that I have a lot of artworks on rice paper. So this is rice paper. But when you paint on rice paper with Asian inks, what happens is your paper gets all crinkly. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it gets all crinkly. And if it's all crinkly, I can't mount this. I could mount this into a mat just the way it is, but it's better if you take the artwork and you mount it onto a stiffer piece of paper. And that's actually what a lot of Asian artists do. They'll even work on larger pieces. This is just a 9 by 12. But if you are on larger pieces of watercolor paper, it's even more important to mount it onto a backing, either a backing board or a backing paper. So this is one of the pieces that I did when we did the Asian florals 2 weeks ago. And if you're on YouTube, you can find those in the under the live tab on YouTube. You can find all of my lives. This piece is done on rice paper, but you'll notice it's no longer all crinkly, and that's because I mounted it onto a piece of bamboo paper, a thicker piece of paper. And so, oh, thank you, Daydreamer Debbie said, pretty. So I'm going to show you how to prepare your artworks on rice paper and then mount them onto a thicker paper. But I want you to bear in mind that the process I'm showing you can be used for any kind of collage. So it can be a fun way to work with kids, especially because what we're going to be using to do the mounting is this nori paste. So if you've never heard of nori paste before, nori paste is a non-toxic paste that is, let's see, it says here, it's a starch adhesive. It's actually removable also. And that's what a lot of people like is if you dampen the artwork, you can remove things as well. It gives you a little bit of working time when you're doing your collage. And I think that can be very helpful. So it's called by Yasutomo, it's called nori paste. It dries clear. It says will not soak through fabric, which is a very interesting, right? Washes off of your hands and clothing easily. It's safe for children and you can thin it with water. So to me, the nori paste is just a fabulous, fabulous product. And so that you can use it with kids. It's great for adults and it's great for kids. And it works perfectly um, for mounting these Asian paintings. And we're going to do one of these together. Now, there are a couple more things for me to show you. This is a piece that we did on Sunday, which again is a bird. And this is wisteria, right? I love wisteria flowers. But what you're going to notice about this one is it's painted with watercolor paper on, I mean, watercolor paint on watercolor paper. So this I do not need to stretch, right? Another one that we did over the weekend was this one on Sunday. So this is just using black paint instead of using color. Um, and those are done on regular paper. But again, rice paper here and rice paper here. So this painting is done with something called Sumi ink. So when you do Asian painting, this is Sumi ink right here. And when it's dry, it's permanent on your paper. And that way, I don't have to prepare this piece. I can just go ahead and go straight to mounting if I'm using Sumi ink on my rice paper. However, if I am using watercolor paint, And that's what you see, the brown and the green on here. The black is Sumi ink, like I just showed you, but the rest of it is watercolor paint. So what I've found is that if I try to mount this, because I'm going to spray the back of it with water, if I just go and spray it with water, this watercolor is going to start to what? It's going to start to spread and it'll ruin the painting. That's what I figured it out the hard way. So what I've discovered is if I have a painting on rice paper, then I have to spray it first. And my favorite is to use Kamar varnish. So I actually use Kamar varnish with a lot of different types of artworks, especially if I have, even if I have something like this. Let's say that I have this piece right here, which is watercolor on watercolor paper. Daydreamer Debbie said, yep, that's what she uses too, the Kamar varnish. And so if I had this on here, this is watercolor, not Sumi ink. And so if I got it wet, it would run. If I want to do mixed media, which I like to do a lot, which is putting more paint on top of here, then I am going to spray this first with Kamar varnish because the Kamar varnish will go on top of the watercolor and it'll lock the watercolor in place. Normally, I have to do 3 coats. And when you varnish and you're using a spray, you go one direction, then the other direction, then back that direction again. So I normally do 3 coats, but depending, sometimes I do 4 coats if I really want to make sure that it's in there, right? But this stuff is phenomenal for that. Um, Oh, yes. Daydreamer Debbie mentioned that after she uses the Kamar varnish is excellent for locking in place. And then she uses a UV varnish. So what that means is it protects against ultraviolet light, especially like for me in Florida when we're preparing artwork. A lot of my artworks I put behind museum glass, which does that UV protection. But if you're going to sell something and it's going to go to somebody and they're going to put it under just regular glass, it helps to spray or brush on a UV varnish as well. So good tip. Thanks, Daydreamer Debbie. Appreciate that. All right. Now, so first I spray it with Kamar varnish, but that to me is just not good enough with these rice paper watercolors because rice paper is very textured. It's not dense like watercolor paper. The rice paper has a lot of tooth to it and it soaks through. So because it soaks through, what I like to do is I like to treat the surface of this rice paper before I mount it with something called Dorland's wax. So I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that before, but Dorland's wax, it's kind of a watercolorist's best friend. It's something that you kind of discover along the way of your watercolor journey. And so this is a wax preparation. You're going to see here, it looks white, just looks like a white wax. However, when you rub it onto your artwork, your watercolor, it actually comes up clear. And so this is a rice paper artwork that I already put it on. Can you see the shine? So I rub it on. I rub the Dorland's wax on with, I just use a, let me show you one. I use a special Viva paper towel, but it has to be the Viva paper towel that says cloth like because I sometimes I use I have leftover sheets or pillows that are cotton material, and I'll cut those up and use those. But if you don't have something like that, use this cloth like Viva. It doesn't have, see how it doesn't have a design on it, so it works really well. And that's what we're going to use. I'm going to show you how to use that when we go over the table. But it will. I put it on and then, so I put it on all the paper here, everywhere that there's color. And then I leave it, usually I'll leave it overnight or a couple of hours, maybe 4 hours or so, so it can sort of set up. And then I come back and I rub it. Okay. I buff it. And that's why it looks shiny. It looks shiny right now because it's buffed. But now it's fully protected. Oh, and I even sprayed Krylon on the back, by the way. I put 2 layers, so I went this way on the back of the rice paper, and then I went this way on the rice paper, so that I locked in the back to be sure it doesn't flow through to the front. And then I put the Dorland's wax on the front. So now that watercolor will not move. Woohoo! So now I'm comfortable mounting it. I was wondering if you did the back. Yes, yes, Daydreamer Debbie. I spray the back. You don't have to spray the back with watercolor paper because watercolor paper, this paper here, is super thick. So, hey, flower gazer, welcome in. So the back is it's not going to permeate. I'm not going to mount this, so I don't have to worry about it, right? And so I don't need to do that kind of preparation. I might spray this with the Kamar varnish or the UV varnish just to lock it in place, and make it, so that water won't damage it. But with this, you do have to spray the back because it's very absorbent paper and it's quite thin. Okay, so make sure. Thank you for that, Daydreamer Debbie. Yes, we spray the back. All right. So first I'm going to show you waxing a painting. So let me pick one here that I have not waxed yet. This one. So this one has the watercolor on it on top of the rice paper. It is not waxed yet. You can see it looks very matte on the surface. I have sprayed it. I took it outside. When you use any of these kind of spray varnishes, you need to do it outside. And so I sprayed the front 3 times and I sprayed the back twice. So now we're going to go up over top of the table and I'm going to show you how I wax it. And then we're going to mount it. Awesome. I love doing this. It is extra steps, but oh my gosh, it's so worth it. Because like, look at the way this looks now that it's mounted. Yeah, and there's the bamboo paper in the back. Now, one thing you are going to notice when we're doing this is sometimes you can get, oh, this one I did really well. I don't have any creases in it, but sometimes you get creases. Creases happen. You know what? It's original art, so don't worry. Okay, so let's go over top of the table. If nice. Okay, so this is the unwaxed piece. Normally what I'll do is I try to get some sort of flat surface. So this is the paper we're going to be mounting onto, which is a bamboo mixed media paper. I love using the renewable source papers. So this one is bamboo, which grows super fast. And this company, Hanamula, also has one that is called what is it? It is called sugarcane, which also grows very fast. And they make a watercolor paper out of sugarcane, which is amazing. So this is cotton rag and bamboo, and it's a very nice thickness and a nice surface. But if you don't have something like bamboo paper, you can just use regular watercolor paper, y'all. You don't have to do anything too fancy schmancy. The one that I had a minute ago, let's see, this one, this is my normal one that I use in the studio. It's the Canson XL watercolor paper. You absolutely can apply this to that paper as well as this is hot press paper by Fabriano. And it is if you look here, it's super smooth. So you may be more comfortable mounting on a smooth surface like that. It's up to you. But if so don't if you have watercolor paper, don't go out and buy new paper. Just use the paper you have, okay? So I like to put this when I'm waxing it on a nice flat, stiff background surface. So we're going to take the Dorland's wax. Now, some people actually just use their hands, believe it or not. Um, Hold on one moment here. Okay. So some people just use their hands to do this. So they'll just reach in here and get some of the wax and then just wax it on. But I like to use this Viva cloth-like paper towel. So I just put my fingers back behind here. Welcome in over on Whatnot. Hello, hello. And now can you see that? There's like a whole bunch of wax on there. And so I usually will start in an area where there's not a lot of paint, right? So I start here And I'm just going around and around and around. And that is getting down inside the rice paper right there. So now I just put a little bit more on. The reason that I like to start it in an area where there's no paint is it makes the paper slick, so it makes it easier for me to then move to other areas. What you are going to notice also when you wax your watercolors, and like I said, you can wax your watercolors even if it's on watercolor paper. A lot of artists do to make it so that it is no longer um, can be damaged by water. But what you're going to notice is that the colors of your paint is slightly going to darken. Okay, slightly, not bad, but just a tiny bit. Now, what I do is as I'm doing this, I'm constantly looking at my paper towel because I want to be sure that there is no color coming up on my paper towel, right? Because if color is coming up on my paper towel, it's going to start to smear everywhere. We don't want that. So as I start to go into the color, I'm constantly checking to be sure that no color is coming up. And if I did it properly, if I did the spraying properly of the Kamar varnish, then you see here how I'm able to put it over top of the paint and nothing smears. But it did take experimentation to figure that out. Um, what's going to work to protect the surface on rice paper. There we go. So now my signature has wax on it. Part of this has wax on it. Let's do some more of the this part here. You see how that goes on. Now, sometimes when I'm doing it, I notice little bits get in there because, I mean, it just happens. Either it's on the cloth or there are little bits that get in here, just bits of fluff and stuff. So, hey, that rhymes, fluff and stuff. So what I'll do is I either, if I see them, I'll push them off the side, and then I'll go to another area on my paper towel to work from so that I'm not reoffending. I'm not putting it back down on there again. It just happens. Little bits happen, and I don't want to leave the bits in the wax. Now, sometimes when I see the bits, I like sometimes I'll be done. I'll be finished, and I'm like, oh man, there's a hair in there or something, right? Then I will go back in with a either a blade like this, or I have a little pointer tool like this. So either one of those, I'll go in and I will lift out just gently, like there was a little tiny hair there. So I'll just go in with the pointer or I'll go in with the tip of the knife here and I'll just pull those little bitty, annoying little bits that get in there. Um, sometimes, let me see, where did I move to? I'm just getting, I don't want there to be too much of a wax buildup. There we go. So I haven't, there's a little hair that keeps wanting to get in there. But so I will go back and I'll finish this later. I know right now here and over here, I already have wax on it. Now, right now, the wax does not look so shiny, and that's because it hasn't fully cured into the surface of the paper yet. And so I need to just leave it for a while, like I said, several hours, and then I come back with a nice clean paper towel and I just buff over the top of it like this. And when I buff it, then it turns it that shiny that I showed you just a minute ago. This one that's see the shine on it. I left this overnight and then came back and buffed it the next day. And now it's all shiny. And I know that it's permeated with all of the wax. Okay. So you can do this process with any of your watercolors. And a lot of people that make original watercolors and then put those original watercolors onto a greeting card like this. So let's say that this was a 4x6 piece of watercolor paper and I had done a painting on it. You can make it indelible to where, it won't get damaged if it gets wet by sealing it with your Dorland's wax medium. I would just spray it first with at least 2 coats of this Kamar varnish to lock the watercolor in before you start rubbing it with the Dorland's wax, okay? This one is well waxed, it's been buffed, and now it's ready to mount. Oh my gosh. So let's take this, which is our bamboo paper. Thanks for the hearts over on YouTube. I appreciate that. As well as hearts on whatnot. I do appreciate that too. Um, okay, so I'm going to move the wax out of the way. We're done. We're done with the wax. I can like feel wax on my fingers. Like, I'm like, okay, so now we're going to mount this. Oh my gosh, this is always exciting. You can use wax paper or something called silicone release paper for this process. All right. Oops. Let's see here. And so we're going to tear off a piece that's approximately the length, like that. Okay. Enough to cover it. And we're going to need that when we get to the point where we're mounting it on the paper. Now, make sure that your paper is the size or a little bit larger than your artwork because you can always cut it down. And so this is, I believe, a 9 by 12. And this bamboo paper, I like it because it's a 9, here you can see, 9.4 inches by 12.6 inches. So it's not exactly that size. That way you have a little bit of leeway because I find as I'm mounting it and pushing the paper um, on the surface, oftentimes it'll slide to one side or the other side. And if I was doing a 9 by 12 on a 9 by 12, that would be a problem potentially, right? Um, okay, so let's go ahead first and put nori paste on this paper. So what I like to do is take a little bit of water. Well, let's open up the nori paste first. This large nori paste has a cover on it to keep it nice and sealed up. So I'm going to put that aside. And then before I start putting this on the paper, I like to wet the paper so the paper is ready to receive that nori paste. And then we're going to use a brush, a wide brush like this to apply it. Okay. So let's spray the paper. The spraying the paper helps the nori paste to spread more easily. Now I'm noticing there's a little something something on the paper, so I'm taking that off before we get too far along. Okay. And if you want to like make sure that that's getting into the paper, this makes sure that it's spread all over the entire paper. So yes, I'm dampening the paper first before I put the nori paste on, all right? Like that. It just helps the nori paste spread on more easily if your paper's already damp because the nori paste is not, I mean, it's kind of stiff, okay? This is the starch paste. But like I said, it's non-toxic. It's great to use with kids. Um, it's something that is removable, and they say on the packaging that it stays wet or stays open for a long time, meaning it makes it a little. Oh, there's a little hair underneath there. I like if I see a hair, I like to take it off. um, because if it's behind a white part of the paper, the hair can show through the paper, and you're like, wait a minute. I know I got all of the little bitty bits off of the waxed version, and then a hair will show through and it's coming from the back, and you're like, oh my gosh, right? So let's put this on. There's another hair. Look at that. I just must have lots of hairs flowing around the studio here today, or it's in the brush. It could be in the brush too. All right. So I know it's going to take a minute, but we are going to cover this whole thing because I want to show you how I do the mounting. What's the timing? Okay, good, good, good. We're good on timing. I appreciate y'all being here on what is it, a Wednesday afternoon. Hey, thanks to Daydreamer Debbie. You know what? Daydreamer, I did not put you in as a mod. I don't know why. I hope that doesn't make a difference, but yeah, there are all these little interesting hairs that keep coming up. But as long as I notice them and I take them out, they're not going to cause a problem in the back end. It's okay with me to take this starch all the way to the edge of the paper, even though the paper that I'm mounting is not full size. It's okay because when it dries, it just dries like a, I mean, you can't even notice it. Okay. You are not even going to notice it on there because it will dry clear for one thing. Okay. So we're getting the whole thing covered all the way out to the edges. You don't want the paint. The reason I'm using a brush to put it on is that you don't want the this paste to be too thick when you put down um, your artwork on top of it. And the reason for that is you don't want to get lumps in your artwork, especially if you're working with rice paper. You Those lumps will show up. So you want to use a brush and get this as well brushed and flat as possible. Oh my gosh, more spots. But see this, do this in good light so you're sure that you get all those little, oh, I know where the hairs are coming from. Duh, the hairs are coming from the felt that I have underneath there. Because when I work with rice paper and I paint with rice paper, um, I paint on top of a piece of felt so that any paint that goes through the rice paper, which it does when you're soaking down the rice paper, especially when you're doing multiple layers, um, you need to do it over top of a piece of felt so that that way any color that comes through does not, damage your surface, whatever you're working on top of there. And so I'm noticing that that's what these little hairs are. They're from the felt. There's another felt hair and another felt hair. That's all right. I'll have them all out of here in just a second. And then we will be good to go. Yee. All right. Come on, hairs. And of course, if I wasn't taking them out with my brush, what would I do? I'd just bring this in and take the little hairs out with that, right? Okay, so I'm just making sure that I've got everything. Now, what's going to happen is by the time you get to the end, the beginning will be dry already, but that's okay because we are going to spray it again to make sure that everything is damp before we put the artwork on there. Okay, so there's another little hair right there I just took off. Oh, it's looking good. Now, another thing about this paper that you need to know is that it is a paper block. What that means is that the top and the bottom of this are glued down. And that comes into play so that your paper, as you're working on it to mount something, doesn't curl up. Because, hey, Barbara, how you doing? Barbara Florentine is in the house. So if you were to work on a, just say, loose watercolor, that was not a block, not mounted, not glued, then what would happen is potentially is that your paper could curl all up while you're doing the process. Your paper that you're mounting onto could curl, and so that would be annoying, right? Okay, we almost have it all done here. Nice. So I'm just going over it one last time like that, making sure we don't have lumps. We've got a nice smooth surface to go on to. All right, beautiful. And I got the hairs out of it. Yay. Now, this just rinses off with water. Woot woot. Barbara's saying woot woot. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to dunk it in some water and I can easily clean it out later. Ooh, look at this. See, this is just the paste. See that paste? How it had dried on the lid? And I'm just going to throw that away. Okay, so we're going to cover this back up. I always make sure that I get that covered back up as quickly as possible so that it doesn't dry out on the top, right? Okay, actually, I'm going to put this here so you can see what it is. The nori paste. Ah, come here, nori paste. There you are. Now everybody should be able to see that, right? Let me see. Maybe if I do this, you can see it. Yeah. Bring this down, bring this over. Now you can see it. That's what we're working with, the Yasutomo nori paste. So it's still a little sticky, but what I'm going to do to mount this is I'm going to give it a light spray to be sure it's nice and moist, to ready to take the artwork. Yeah. Ah, somehow something. Oh my goodness gracious. The I must have lots of dust in the air because I keep getting little spots coming on to here. And I am anal when it comes to having little spots on my artwork. I hate when that happens. So, okay, there we go. We're good and ready. Now, I'm not just going to take this dry and put it down on here. I'm going to spray the back of it. Thank you, Barbara, for letting people know on Whatnot that I do teach on Sundays. Yes, I do. Okay, so notice it's that the water is like sitting on top, but a little bit of it, it just is moistening it, okay? I like to have it moistened and ready to go so that this side is moistened and this is moistened, okay? Now, normally I will set this down right in the middle. So it's kind of like this in the middle. And I'm getting it in the middle of the paper. All right, like that. And you want to start just like when you do decoupage or any sort of collage, you kind of want to start in the middle. And this is where this comes in handy. This is the um, wax paper. Okay, there's cut right wax paper. So we're putting the wax paper on. Now I use a stiff squeegee. So this is stiff. It's not, I mean, you could probably use any squeegee and you can even use your hands. I mean, if you don't have a squeegee, use your hands. But what I've found is if you just use your hands, you can still get wrinkles. Like that just started to wrinkle. But if you put this down and then you use the squeegee from the middle and you start to squeegee it, let's squeegee it down a little bit from the middle. So you see how that helps you with the whole process of pushing this down onto that surface. You, even though the rice paper that you started with is all crinkly like this is one that is waxed, but it's not mounted yet. So you see how it's all crinkly? Yeah. Well, you need to be able to get those crinkles out without getting wrinkles. Now, sometimes you get wrinkles, okay? It just, wrinkles happen. So like there's a wrinkle right here. So what I'm doing is using this and I'm going pretty hard against the wrinkle like that. And the reason I do that is you can have little tiny wrinkles and then have it is squeegee it a word. um, so it's okay to if you're mounting rice paper, wrinkles happen, okay? So it is normal to have little wrinkles. If you now what I'm noticing is look how far up this is compared to this part down here is there's a big gap at the bottom and like no gap at the top. Um, so the nice thing about nori paste, see how I'm able to lift this back up? Is that amazing? It's amazing. It has really great work time, they call it. And I notice there's a big old hair here, which means it must have been on the back. It must have been on the back of this when I set it down. Okay. So the cool thing is I can gently lift this up. What? I can gently lift it up because nori paste has a good work time and I can put it back down and put it back down, adjusting the placement. Okay, so as long as I haven't done the whole thing, it's really easy for me to pick it back up and adjust where it's sitting. Okay, so now, since I just picked it back up, let's work on that little wrinkle right there. Maybe I can get the little wrinkle out since I lifted it back up. Most of the wrinkle is out. Okay, so It's not an exact science. As you can see, you kind of have to work with it. If you're busy, you can always sit back and shop. Ah, yes. Thank you, Barbara. My marketplace on Whatnot is up 24/7. You're correct. Um, and I have over 500 pieces in there. I think it's over 300 pieces that are in the buy now on Whatnot. So feel free to go check that out. But as you can see, I'm like holding this. The reason I like the stiff squeegee is because if you did get a little bit of too much underneath there, as you're squeegeeing it, it's going to push that excess nori paste out. Okay. So let's try this corner and see what happens up here in the corner. Let's see how we did. Let's see here. So that's you do have to be careful. You don't want your wax paper to be wrinkly because otherwise that'll wrinkle what's underneath it. But let's see how this corner is doing. Eee! I'm gonna lift this side and let's see. Oh my gosh, it looks beautiful up here. And there's a little wrinkle right there. So I'm going to lift this up. See what time it is. Okay, we're good on time. I'm lifting that up and I'm just gonna smooth it a little bit with my finger, okay? Smooth it a little bit. But that's why nori paste is so nice because you can take your time with it like this and really work it. Okay, there we go. Working that out. Wow. So it looks like the whole top of it is done. If you're more comfortable pushing up than pulling down, then at this point where this half is done, let me just check that out. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. Now I still have to do this half. So what I'm going to do is just set this down like this, and I'm more comfortable pushing than pulling for the mounting. So I'm going to turn it around. And now I'm going to start in the middle. And what I'm noticing is that my this has to be moved down a little bit. What you need to be careful of is right now, all along the edge here and along the edge here is paste because it was on the edge there, right? So I'm actually going to take a new piece here, or maybe I can just cut part of this off. Will that help? The part that has the paste on it. Oops. Let me cut the part over here that has the paste on it. Oop, like that. There we go. So I don't want this paste to get in the middle. I want the paste to stay on the sides. So I'm going to do this. Now the paste here is right there. And I can move this down to this half and start working just on this half right here. Let's see how it goes. Let me move these out of the way and we'll see how it's doing. How's it doing? Okay, nice. There's a potential for a wrinkle over here. So let me just pull this across and see how we do. See how I'm doing little, like sort of swipe, 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 swipe like that, so that I can move any excess out. Let's see how this, oh, beautiful. Perfect. All right, lovely. Let's do this side over here. And we'll just do small bits like that. That can help to get those wrinkles out of there. I don't know. Did it go down flat? We're going to find out here in just a second, right? Okay, do that and do this. Make sure the whole thing is mounted. You don't want any air bubbles underneath there. Okay, let's see, let's see. Okay, what I'm noticing is that there's a tiny bit right here. You know what it is? It's my fingernail got in there somehow. So I can just rub it like this and see if I can get those little marks from my fingernail out of the surface of it. You don't want to be too aggressive because you don't want to, tear through the paper, right? So that helped a little bit. I guess somehow my fingernail got in there. So I'm just going around it and seeing if I can even it in here too. Okay, let's see what we have. And it's done. Yay! It's mounted. What? Here, let's ring the bell. Where's my bell? Success! And you can just throw this away. That's wax paper. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it and see if during that process I embedded any bits into the wax. Okay. And if I did, this is my opportunity to remove it. They're a little teeny tiny. Sometimes the marks are actually like, here's a little tiny mark. It's actually watercolor underneath there. Yeah, yeah. I see Barbara's like, woohoo, right? I'm going to run the giveaway for the demo right now while we finish this up. I'm so excited. So excited. So that was quick. Daydreamer Debbie said, yeah, it's you just have to have a little bit of patience with it with the nori paste. Take your time in applying it, but you can see it wasn't that bad, right? This is even thinner rice paper right here. So, and it's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to have to use an even bigger piece of paper for that. Oh, thank you, Barbara. Barbara popped in and purchased something. I appreciate it. And so that this is even thinner rice paper. I'm going to have to be a little more gentle with it when I mount this. But you see the size of it is bigger than this bamboo paper. So I'm actually going to mount it on this watercolor paper that's hot press. So it is smooth. Remember how I said you might want to use a smooth paper for your mounting? And so this paper, check it out. You see here, it's bigger on the sides here and here, so that when I mount it, if I need to cut off any of the edges after it's fully dry, I can do that to make it fit properly into the mat that I'm going to put it in. But that's the bluebirds. And so this I did this past week for last weekend's workshop. This one, like I said, it is mounted. So it is right on the edge here and on the edge here. It's called a block. Let me see if it tells you on the front here. Mixed media, bamboo, do. Well, for some reason it doesn't tell you it's a block. That's what it's called when it's glued down on the edges. But let me show you. You can take either a palette knife like this, or bow hung paper comes with this. The bow hung paper blocks come with this cute little leaf. And so you can use either one. You put it in underneath here, and then I'm releasing it from the block. So there's that half is released. This bamboo paper is interesting from Hanamula because it's glued on this end and this end, but not on either side. So it makes it super happy. I mean, super easy to remove it because you've got the whole side here to go under. And here we go, like that. What? It's that easy to release it. And normally I leave it on the block to dry because that helps to hold the paper down, and it helps to prevent curling, right? We don't want curling of our work. Tristina's art collage. Yes, we're going to do, thank you, Barbara. We're going to do collage with these rice papers that we made during our past classes. I'm going to show you how to collage with rice paper and other papers, and we're going to have fun. So thank you, everybody, for coming to the workshop. I really appreciate you.